Welcome to The Show Off, the podcast where we make each other sit down, shut up, and watch episodes of our favorite TV shows and then explain, or be forced to listen to, why it's top-tier television. This show is for anyone who has ever wanted to go on endless tangents about their favorite shows, but their friends and family don't want to hear it. We get it. Ditch those losers and come hang out with us instead. I'm Amanda.
And I'm Kampy.
And this is The Show Off.
Previously on the Show Off podcast.
That's right, y'all. Buckle up, grab your sonic screwdrivers and your companions because we're doing our favorite Doctor Who 2005 series episodes. The quick IMDb description is the further adventures in time and space of the alien adventurer known as the Doctor and his companions from planet Earth.
I am being a problematic person again.
Oh, okay.
Because I can't choose.
Oh, are you giving me an option?
I'm giving you options.
No way.
I'm giving you 3.
That one. I want to do that one.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Cool. I was kind of hoping you picked that one.
I truly have not seen this episode maybe since I originally watched it.
Really? I really like this one.
Yeah. I remember it being great.
Yeah, this is a fun one.
We are live. Excellent.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you, Amanda?
I'm doing well. It's been a couple of weeks for us.
Yeah,
not for y'all.
Out of the state.
Yes, I was traveling. I went to a conference in Boise, Idaho.
Man, she's got stuff to do. Oh, shoot.
Yeah.
Speaking of, we can't even record next week because I'm going to be out of the state.
Oh, great. Great. That's fine. That's
Shoot,
fine.
I still got to book my flight, but it's fine. It's fine. We'll figure it out.
We got a shitload of editing to do. So, it's editing catch-up time.
Exactly.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
Yeah. All right.
But what are we doing this week?
We are talking about Doctor Who again.
Yeah,
as
part
we
2.
promised. Part 2. Today we are looking at season 2, episode 4, The Girl in the Fireplace.
Hell yeah.
Any initial thoughts before I jump in?
I do.
I mean, I know you've seen this 100 times.
I actually haven't seen it that many times.
Really?
I almost completely forgot the plot.
Oh,
yeah.
shit.
No,
Okay.
like once we started getting into it, I was like, okay, yeah, I kind of like remember this. But no, I haven't actually seen it that many times. I watched probably all RTD stuff once all the way through, obviously. Mm-hmm. And then, like a handful of episodes here and there I went back and watched again, but this was not one of them.
Wow. So was this a fun little romp through Doctor Who for you?
Well, totally. And like the first thing I want to say is like, how crazy is it the similarities between the 2 episodes we picked? I was like, what even? I was like, oh my God, which it just goes to show you like Moffat's kind of been working through these ideas for a long time.
Oh, and I'm going to bring up a few more that come back quite a lot in Moffat's writing.
Yeah. But I like that. I like it when like somebody, when you can kind of do a version of one idea and then kind of riff on it more later and like you just kind of develop as you go. I think that's cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, like the whole under the bed part, I was like, bitch, are you kidding me? Are you serious right now? Like we're doing this.
It's a great, this double feature turned out to be really well picked.
And like, so you knew, like once I chose last week, because you gave me options.
I gave you 3 options.
Yeah. So once I chose Girl in the Fireplace, were you like, oh.
No, I did not know it would work out this way.
Yeah, right? Oh my God.
Yeah. And for my own, I mentioned this last week. This episode is my episode to finally get my thoughts out about Moffat as a writer and a showrunner, which I've not been able to do well up to this point. So this was a perfect episode for that too, because it captures a lot of what I both love and hate about Moffat.
Okay, interesting. I was going to say, like, are those thoughts mostly negative?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay,
and
good.
I'm going to start out right away by saying I really like Moffat as a writer.
Yeah, same.
He's a good writer.
Yeah.
I do not like Moffat as a showrunner.
And I do, so I'm going to have a counter argument.
Yeah, so this is what we're going to get
into. It's going
to
be good.
But that's for the end of the episode after we talk about the episode.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So The Girl in the Fireplace, season 2, episode 4.
And they're both episode 4.
I know.
Okay, sorry, keep going.
So many parallels.
Yeah.
Directed by Eros Lynn, written by Stephen Moffat, and uncredited Sydney Newman. So we have David Tennant as our 10th Doctor iteration.
Indeed.
The wonderful Billie Piper as Rose Tyler. Noel Clarke as Mickey Smith.
I did not realize this was a Mickey episode.
It is
I was
Mickey
like,
episode.
Oh, he's here.
I was so happy when you picked it just because I'm like, yes, Mickey's in it.
Yeah.
I love Mickey. And then Sophia Myles as Renette, or Madame du Pompadour.
Yeah.
Which I know I'm butchering that. I don't speak French. Fuck French.
Both names are excellent.
I often abbreviate her to just MDP, so.
MDP. I'm down with it.
If I say that, just know I'm talking
Renette.
about
Renette's
Madame
not
du
hard.
Pompadour. No, I know. Renette.
Yeah.
It just gets boring after a while. All right, so we open in the 18th century at a masquerade ball, and
Indeed.
people are freaking out. They're running, they're screaming, and we get a shot of a broken clock on top of a fireplace mantle. Mm-hmm. And we hear a voice of a man coming in saying, "There are creatures. I don't think they're human." And there's a woman at the fireplace who's very calm, very collected. And she just says, "The clock is broken. He's coming." And this other guy is like, "You're crazy. Like, come on, let's move." And she just continues and she said, "There is a man who's coming to Versailles. He's been watching over me my whole life, and he's not going to desert me tonight. He is the only man, save you, that I have loved." And she yells into the fireplace, "Doctor!"
Yep.
Title.
Credits roll. Yeah.
Yeah, so that is our cold open for this episode.
It's a good cold open, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I had a note that I wrote, "This man, 10 specifically, really be making women fall in love with him wherever he goes."
True.
Which, like, you get it, but also it's like a real problem for him.
I almost, at one point in this, I was like, is it inappropriate to Google how many times David Tennant's doctor was kissed without, like, him consenting to the kiss by women? Where they just,
was
like,
kissed,
pounce
yeah.
on him? Because this is one of them.
Yeah, not, there were a few times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's the kissiest doctor of the lot.
I mean, to be fair, in this one, he was into it.
True.
He was really into it. Actually, I can't think of a time when he wasn't into it.
No.
So,
but it is often, catching him by surprise.
Yeah, for sure. It's not solicited.
And I mean,
for
like,
sure.
to be fair, if I was an actress on Doctor Who, I'd be like, yeah.
Would you go for it? Maybe.
Definitely write in a scene where I get to kiss David Tennant, please. All right. So yeah, we get our title sequence, classic Doctor Who music, and we fade into our story. Mm-hmm. We're set in space. There is a spaceship just kind of floating out there, chilling, doing its thing, and we hear the TARDIS noise, which, if you don't know the show, I'm not going to try to imitate it, but
can you find the sound effect and drop it in here?
I'll drop it in here.
Yeah,
I will drop it in here. It's this whirling, whooshing sound, but that's how you know that is the signature TARDIS sound.
Yeah.
The TARDIS is arriving or leaving.
It's very iconic.
And we get David Tennant, the Doctor, Mickey and Rose exiting out of the TARDIS and on to the spaceship. Mm-hmm. And right away, Mickey is super excited because it's his first time traveling. It's his first spaceship. He's in space and it's all exciting for him.
Yeah, he says he got a spaceship on his first go.
Yeah,
I was like,
it's
oh,
really
I'm so
cute.
happy for you.
I love Mickey. And Rose is just, it's technically...
She's like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, she's used to this now. Mickey is technically her boyfriend, kind of.
The Doctor is also kind of, sort of her boyfriend.
Yeah, it's, her Facebook status is, it's complicated.
Right,
that was the era.
For sure.
But yeah, it looks abandoned. And we get a classic 10 read where, Rose is like, "Is anything here?" And he goes, "Nah, nothing's here." "Whoa, nothing dangerous." "Whoa, not that dangerous." Which is a very classic.
Yeah, it's a speech pattern he does a lot.
A lot.
Yeah, and it's funny. It's
I
like every
it.
time he does it, you're like, yeah, it's funny.
It's not overplayed too much. Like, he does it.
It's just
he
enough.
only does it once in this episode, so I don't know if he does it every episode, but yeah.
Yeah, I definitely just wrote all caps, "well," in my notes.
If you know, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, they scan the ship to see if there's anything dangerous. Doesn't look like there is. And we're trying to get a sense for where we are, and we're roughly 3,000 years in the future, about 2.5 galaxies away from Earth.
Yeah. Casual.
Yeah, and we learn that there's a ton of repair work going on the ship. There's a lot of parts and bits and bobs lying around. A lot of wires are out.
And the Doctor's explaining all this.
Yeah, it's a lot of space jargon.
Yeah.
As I write. There has to be like some kind of film term for this when they just like exposition dump random terms so you don't think too hard about it.
It's a Doctor Who technique that is used often.
Yes.
And you just
roll.
You just roll. I mean, almost all of this show is you just roll. Mm-hmm. That's like the whole, like, don't ask too many questions. You will have a way better time.
Exactly. So yeah, this is why I'm just cutting to, this is what we learn from all the space jargon, is that all the power on the ship is running. It's a lot of power, enough to punch a hole through the universe amount of power going through the ship, but the ship's not moving. It's not going anywhere. And there's no crew.
Yeah, there's nobody around.
No one, like, they can't figure out where the crew's gone. And there's no, you know, like, emergency shuttles that are gone. Like, they're just not there.
Yeah.
And then we see a fireplace off in the corner. And, you know, that's not something you see in your average spaceship, as the doctor remarks. And he starts investigating it, and he says, well, it's an 18th century French fireplace. It's not a hologram. It's not a reproduction. It's a real 18th century French fireplace.
Yep.
And he looks through the fireplace to see a room on the other side, which Rose immediately points out can't be possible because she's looking out the window of the ship, and it's the hull. There's nothing but space from her perspective. So there's a room on the other side of this fireplace. And in that room is a little girl who's staring right back through the fireplace at the doctor. So she's a young girl. Her name is Renette. And the doctor asks, you know, where is she? And she's like, oh, I'm in my bedroom. And he's like, okay, well, more specific than that.
Yeah.
And she says she's in Paris. Okay, more specific than that. What's the year? And it's 1727. You know, what's he doing in the fireplace? And he's, I'm just, you know, it's a routine fire check.
Yeah. Makes up some BS on the spot, which is also par for the course.
Yes. And then I love this kind of throwaway line where he makes a comment where he says 1727, excellent year, except August. August is rubbish. Stay indoors.
I did notice that. So do you have the historical context for that?
I don't.
Okay. I thought you might, but yeah, I made a note of that too. And I was like, oh, was it the plague? And I was like, no, that's like 200 years before that. Wow. Now we got to figure it out.
Hold on.
when I the like Google search drop down is like showing Doctor Who. So people looked this up.
You're not the first.
No. There's a Reddit for it. Doctor noted that August was not a very good month. Yes, we know that. Why? Well, the TARDIS wiki is no help. Maybe it's just made up. Maybe it's just made up. Answers.com. Let's hang on. One more. In real life, there was a bad harvest affecting food within the city, but not to a huge extent. The two branches of the House of Bourbon reconciled. There's also the birth of Louis XV's twin daughters, Louise Elizabeth and Henriette Anne, on the 14th of August.
Yeah, but no reason to stay indoors.
No particular reason. I think it's just made up.
All right. So, quick Google. We don't know.
Yeah.
If you know, listener.
Yeah,
if you know more insight into Paris, August 1727.
Yeah, if you have the real historical insight that Google could not give us, please let us know. I actually want to know.
But I will call out, I'm going to bring this line up later.
Yeah.
This is one thing that I like that Moffat does.
Okay,
which is drop in little tiny lines for comedy that hint to a larger story that the Doctor was a part of.
Okay, what's your example on this one?
Well, August, it was rubbish, right? Like he's saying the year 1727 in Paris was a lovely year except for August. Why does he know that?
I see what you're saying.
What happened?
Yeah.
And there's little bits of this sprinkled throughout a lot of Moffat's writing when he does these episodes where you just get an allusion to a bigger story that might have happened somewhere down the line. Yeah. And it's part of the fun and the mystery of the Doctor.
100%. It reminds me of the Leverage writers talking about how like they will make references on the show, like same thing basically, make references on the show that allude to other jobs that they've been on because we're only seeing maybe every third job.
Yeah.
So like same thing for Doctor Who. We're only seeing maybe every third adventure, every fifth adventure. Like, and for him it's unlimited because he has literally all of time and space.
Exactly.
So it could be however long, we don't even know.
And that's fun. That's fun for me as a viewer.
It's hella fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially when like sometimes those offhand comments do come up as plot points.
Right. Yeah. The Shakespeare Code comes to mind with Queen Elizabeth.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
All right, so the Doctor is done talking with Renette. He's going to let her go to bed, wishes her a good night. And Mickey is so disappointed because he thought they were 3,000 years in the future. So why are they in 1727 Paris? Like, what's going on? He thought he was on a spaceship in the future. And the Doctor points out, well, there was enough energy to punch a hole in the universe. So I guess we found our hole.
Right.
Yeah. great line. He says, must be a spatio-temporal hyperlink.
Yeah.
Space jargon. What's that, Doctor? No idea. I just made it up. Didn't want to say magic door.
Yeah. I wrote down that line too. That was a good one.
Yeah, just another little great bit of writing there. Again, Moffat is a good writer and very good with dialogue.
Yeah, I have a few things I'd like to roll over from the last couple minutes if I could. I like that Mickey is shocked that the TARDIS can translate French specifically. He's like, he rolls with like, oh, the TARDIS can translate, but
any
like
language,
even French.
I share that astonishment.
Yeah. So I like that he's like especially surprised about that. The earlier when they first got onto the spaceship, the dialogue, and again, this is a Moffat thing, the dialogue's so fast and so like packed with like little jokes, like little asides. So yeah, I think actually a couple of times in this episode, Ten says like, oh, there are cowboys in here. He like refers to like, have you noticed that?
There are quite a few cowboy references.
Yeah, and I was like, why that word specifically? I don't know if that, and I know 11 has a line similar in like a way later episode too.
There's like a whole plot point where 11 gets to be a cowboy for a
yes,
little bit.
But the line that I'm talking about, it's not about actual, like he's using the term, same thing as here. He's using the term to refer to like some like weirdos. I don't know. It just like struck me as like funny.
Is that like a specific British
That's what I was
idiom
wondering.
to like refer to? I don't know.
Right, that's what I was wondering. So I don't know. It was just funny.
We'll call it a Moffatism.
Yeah, I also like it when he does the thing in the beginning, and then he's like, "Oh, I'll just have a quick scan in case there's anything dangerous." And they do like a real quick shot to Rose, and her face is like, I don't know, she's like into it.
She's into everything he does.
Yeah, at this point especially, like she's been around for a minute.
Yeah.
Although
the
this is
number of longing stares or like flirtatious stares that she's giving him throughout this episode are countless.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. I will say like she did not have as much to do in this episode as some other ones.
No. It's a Renette episode.
Yeah. There's a whole other thing going on. Yeah. Which is fine. But yeah, that I just like clocked that. And I was like, girl, we're 4 episodes in to 10. Like you're already doing this.
Again, David Tennant. I don't blame her.
Yeah. Well, and like, you know, she was already half in love with 9 and all that stuff.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah. Oh, also the Sunday roast comment.
Oh, that's a good point. Yes.
Yeah. So they like before they're gonna go check out the fireplace, they make a comment that like something smells really good and something's cooking. And Mickey says Sunday roast, definitely. And as soon as he said it, I was like, nah, no, thank you. Whatever that is, no, because I truly didn't remember. So yeah, and then when they first go up to the fireplace, Ten goes, nice mantle. I was just like, what? Who are you?
That just exudes like, what knockers?
Yeah.
Oh, I thank you, Doctor.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that was, oh yeah. And then he also makes a comment that Renette has a lovely name, which is also something, I think it's another Moffatism because 11 makes that comment to new people he meets a lot too.
Yeah.
That, oh, you have a lovely name. Which I think is like a really like great compliment to give somebody.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's one thing that Moffat does in his writing, I think, is just like genuine, I guess, love and admiration for new things.
Yeah.
New people,
new
experiences.
And interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and that comes out in small ways and big ways. Yep. Small ways like appreciating someone's name.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool.
Going on.
All right. So on to the Scooby Doo magic door.
Yeah, bro. I love it so much.
You know, as Mickey is talking about how disappointed he is that he's not 3,000 years in the future, the Doctor, without saying a word, just walks up to the fireplace, immediately finds a secret lever, and the whole fireplace does a 180, and he's standing on the other side.
Yeah.
So now the Doctor is in Renette's bedroom. Rose and Mickey are still on the spaceship, left behind, as the Doctor tends to do a lot with his companions.
Yeah. Especially 10, I think.
Yeah.
It's a trait of his for sure.
Oh yeah, he gets so swept up in the moment and so excited about stuff. He does lose track.
Yeah.
Of the people he's traveling with.
And then he's like mad when they wander off.
Yeah,
and it's like, bro.
I relate to this strongly because I am a wanderer where I will just wander away from people and then get mad when I go back and they're not there.
Yeah.
Shoot. Now I gotta find them.
Yeah.
Even though it was my fault. I brought this on myself.
You're the companion.
Yes. Anyway, so Renette is now sleeping in her bed and wakes up suddenly because the fireplace man is there. Mm-hmm. And he's like, oh, calm down. It's just me. I'm just checking to see if everything's fine still. And he's like, I was just here a moment ago. We were just talking a moment ago. And she's like, that wasn't a moment ago. Mm-hmm. It was weeks, months.
Gasp.
Yeah. And so, the doctor's like, oh, I guess the fireplace, I guess the connection's probably a little faulty. And, he's inspecting that and notices the clock on the fireplace mantle. Mm-hmm. And it's broken. Uh-huh. And that scares him. Uh-huh. Why does it scare him, Amanda?
Tell us, Kampy.
There's a mysterious ticking noise. Not over here, not over there. Pretty catchy.
That's a throwback. You got to be a certain age to have gotten that one.
This is where we show that we're millennials.
Millennials and nerds.
So yeah, basically the only clock in the room is broken.
Yep.
But there's still a ticking noise.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
At this point, I was just kind of letting it happen to me, so I wasn't trying to think about it too hard. So I also I was following along as a good audience member is supposed to do in this situation, realizing it in real time as it's happening. And to me, I thought I had registered the ticking sound in the back of my head, but I thought it was part of the non-diegetic sound, and then you realize, oh shit, that's diegetic.
Yeah,
that's in the room.
I think the sound design here is really well done too, because I think the sound gets louder.
Yeah,
slowly.
It definitely does.
Yeah, so slowly. It starts becoming more and more prominent, and it raises the anxiety for you.
Yeah,
it's becoming overwhelming.
Yeah, they do also this really great pan around shot, when he's looking at the clock. You go from behind him to sort of I don't know, kitty corner facing him, I guess, because he's looking at the clock on the mantle. And it's just, I don't know, it's this great dynamic movement as we're realizing what's happening. Mm-hmm. So I enjoyed that.
Great bit of direction.
Yeah.
And editing. Now Renette is scared. And the doctor starts rattling off space jargon again, as he does. Basically concludes that the ticking is quite big and it must be the size of a man, whatever that means.
Right.
And so he decides to look under the bed, and there is our bed connection from
buddy.
Our last podcast episode. So he pulls out his sonic screwdriver to scan underneath the bed, and as he's doing that, something swipes at him, and he jumps back. And we get a very fantastic, creepy shot where the doctor goes to look back under the bed immediately, and there's nothing under there.
Yeah.
But there's something standing on the other side.
Yeah.
So creepy.
Yeah, very creepy, very effective. I love that when he's looking under the bed, we are looking from the perspective of under the bed, but behind the thing, whatever it is. So in the corner of the frame, you can just see the wig of the thing, and I'm sure you'll explain in a minute. And then you don't really see that there's a hand there at all until it swipes at him.
Yeah.
So it's very well framed and positioned to get that scary effect.
It's very well done. So the doctor slowly looks up from under the bed.
Yep.
Tells Renette, don't turn around.
Yep.
Just look at me.
Yep.
And what he sees is essentially what appears to be an 18th century Frenchman wearing a very large masquerade mask and, one of those fancy 18th century wigs.
Yeah.
Right. And instead of inspecting or questioning this stranger that's standing in the room, the doctor grabs Renette's face and declares, you've been scanning her brain.
Yeah.
You've crossed 2 galaxies and thousands of years to scan a child's brain? Mm-hmm. And Renette, who hasn't turned around yet, says, I don't understand, looks directly at the creature. This is when she turns around. Without missing a beat, without hesitating, without fear in her voice, she just says, you want me? Mm. And boom, right away. This little girl who's maybe 10 is I'm not scared of no monster.
Yeah. That's a good point. I didn't necessarily internalize that. But
So right away they're setting up this Renette as someone who's bold, who's even in the face of something dangerous and scary, because she was scared before.
Right.
when it actually comes to the moment of crisis, she's going to be calm.
Well, and like how much do you think is she not scared because the doctor is there?
Probably a big component.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure. But I think there is something to be said about the internal strength that she displays here as well.
Yeah, 100%.
And even if that is internal strength that's evoked by the doctor's presence.
Yeah.
Still in there.
Yeah.
And yeah, so basically this creature, when, she's like, why do you want me? Just simply states, you are incomplete.
Yeah.
And basically this creature and the doctor get into not a sword fight. This creature kind of pulls a sword out of its arm.
It's not
sword.
even a sword though. What is it?
Who really knows?
Yeah.
It's like a multi-tool.
Yeah.
With a sharp point.
It's like a clockwork something or other.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's supposed to be kind of what we're evoking here. It's like
Yeah.
a wind up.
And you could imagine
thing.
that this sword type thing could be used for all sorts of things, not just for attacking people.
Yeah, definitely looks like it could stab somebody pretty bad.
For sure. So yeah, they don't get into a sword fight so much because the doctor only has a sonic. But so he's dodging. As this thing's attacking him. And he tells Renette, don't be scared of anything. It's just a nightmare. And even monsters have nightmares. And she says, what do monsters have nightmares about? And as this creature is swinging his arm at the doctor and he hits the mantelpiece. And the doctor responds to Renette's question with, me. Basically, monsters have nightmares about me. And with that, this creature's arm is stuck on the mantle. And the doctor hits the lever and they Scooby Doo 180 around back onto the spaceship.
It is so Scooby Doo. I didn't make that connection either, but now that you've said it, I can't unsee it.
This is also, I feel like, the second connection to Young Frankenstein.
Okay.
Yeah, the what knockers, what mantle, and now the spinning mysterious fireplace thing. I think it's a bookcase in Frankenstein, though.
Okay, I'm not familiar with that, but yeah, I mean, obviously, it's a great moment. It's
good.
very like classic Doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Like it's timed out, obviously, very intentionally. Like the thing hits the mantle, it gets stuck. He like is coming towards the lever or whatever to turn it around, and then what do monsters have nightmares about? Me. Ha! He like turns it around and he's gone.
Yeah.
It's real good. Also a line, I mean, kind of just leading into that whole part, when he says it's a nightmare, don't worry about it, everyone has nightmares, even monsters from under the bed have nightmares. And a line before that, what could there be in a little girl's mind worth blowing a hole in the universe? That to me is like a good example. I like my ear immediately picked that out as like this, like almost this cadence that Moffat writes in sometimes. Like sometimes he'll have lines that feel like they have rhythm.
Yes.
And it's very good.
Yeah, I make a comment about that later.
Yeah. And that was one of them for me. What could there be in a little girl's mind worth blowing a hole in the universe? Like, I don't know, like when you say it out loud, it just feels like there's rhythm to it.
It's the Shakespearean iambic pentameter. Yeah. I'm butchering that.
It's probably not, but it's, along those lines. Yeah.
The vibes.
It's good. It's very good.
For sure. And yeah, I'm going to come back to this line later about what do monsters have nightmares about, because it's a point of love-hate with Moffat for me on this one.
Yeah.
It works here. I like it here.
Yeah.
And we're going to get into why later.
It definitely also, I mean, I put 3 eye, like side eye emojis next to this because I was thinking about Listen, about the episode we watched last week. And it's just like so connected.
Oh yeah. Lots of connections. So we're back in space, and immediately the doctor grabs what looks like a gun.
Yeah.
And blasts a bunch of smoky, foamy stuff at this guy till he freezes.
Yeah. It looks like a fire extinguisher.
It's a fire extinguisher.
Stuff.
It's a space fire extinguisher. It looks like a gun. It's dope.
Mickey says it's a freeze ray. Which he's basically not wrong.
No, it does. Yeah.
It freezes the robot.
Yeah.
Automaton, whatever.
The droid, I think, as I refer to him later.
Okay.
But yeah, so basically we come to the conclusion that this thing came from the spaceship originally and was just taking a field trip to France for some reason.
Yeah.
So he removed the masquerade mask off of this creature. And instead of a face, we have a faceless glass head.
Yep.
And inside there is this very beautiful mechanical mechanism, I suppose you could say. And this is another moment of writing where David Tennant does this really, really well. And again, talking about Moffat loving to write about things that are new and beautiful and exciting and show that appreciation. When we see the inside of this creature and all these gears, immediately David Tennant, Doctor, is, oh, you're beautiful. No, really, you are. You're gorgeous. I've got chills. I mean this from the heart. And by the way, count those.
Yeah, that was so good.
It would be a crime, an act of vandalism to dissemble you.
Yeah.
But that won't stop me.
Yeah, but that won't stop me. Yeah.
But
adding that little bit of an edge at the end.
Mm-hmm. But this particular era of the Doctor, it's probably true for all of them. But again, I think David Tennant pulls it off so well. This wonder, this boyish joy of new things. Yeah. And I think that's what helps keep Doctor Who so fresh, is because you as the audience too get to be swept up in that emotion of childhood joy at discovering something new.
100%. I did also make a note about this. I wrote him going off about the production. So that's kind of fun to think about too.
I mean, shout out to the people who work on this stuff, because it's only ever used for one episode.
Right.
And then you got to move on to the next thing, and you got to like pump this stuff out. It looks good.
Yeah. And you know what that reminds me of? So he's back. David Tennant came back for the 60th anniversary special over the last year. And there's one episode where, for reasons I won't explain, he has really long arms. And really and when I say that, like, imagine arms. Like cartoon Looney Tunes, like long arms dragging on the floor type of deal, except make it creepy. And I saw a behind the scenes video of him, and like they had legit,
it's practical.
At least part of it's practical.
Yeah.
But they had these like mechanical arms, you know, like all made up for him. He had to go like do a fitting or something for the arms. And like he's almost the same. he's kind of and that's why it works so well, really, is because he's just as like, you know, tickled about all the cool stuff that he gets to interact with in real life as the Doctor is. So yeah, it's pretty funny. You can find that video somewhere on YouTube.
So yeah, basically, the Doctor does threaten this creature, and it immediately short range teleports away. So it's still on the ship, it's just not by them anymore.
It said bye.
Yep. So the Doctor tells Nikki and Rose now being armed with the fire extinguisher, to not go looking for it. And then he Scooby Doo doors around right back to France.
Scooby Doo doors around back to France. Yes. Okay.
Do you have another way to describe it?
No, that's the perfect description. I love it. Yeah, please never stop using it.
So Mickey grabs a fire extinguisher himself, and of course the two companions immediately go running off into the ship to go find the creature.
Yeah. They have like a cute little exchange for a hot second where Mickey's like, he said we weren't supposed to go, and Rose just kind of like looks at him.
But Dad said.
Yeah, and she's like, we're gonna go look for it.
Back in France with the Doctor, we're in a room. It's daytime now. It's no longer night, so we know some time has passed.
Right.
You know, the Doctor just wants to see if Renette's doing okay. And, you know, a young woman enters the room, and she just seems a bit astonished. Not totally freaked out. Not like, who is this strange man in my room? Does it a little bit, but more just like, huh.
Yeah.
Interesting. And he's, you know, like rattling on about, you know, where's Renette? Is she okay? Blah, blah, blah. And it turns out that this woman is Renette. It's been years now. A lot of time has passed. And overall, she's just curious about how her imaginary doctor could be real. Are we seeing parallels, Amanda?
A cup, just one, just a little bit.
If you are a fan of the show, starting on Moffat's, when Moffat becomes the showrunner, our first plot point is Doctor meets a little girl, says he'll be right back, and comes back when she's a full-grown woman.
Yeah, it's like the expanded version of this one episode.
And she's like, you were my imaginary friend.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Except for her, it has like a lot more emotional and psychological consequences, which is good. Like, we actually expand on that.
Exactly,
you know?
yeah. So, talking about how Moffat has been playing with some of these ideas for a while.
Yeah.
And obviously keeps coming back to some of them that he really enjoys playing around with.
Yeah.
And this is one of them. Yeah, the Doctor likes to meet people.
Well, yeah, and like I think
then bounce and come back a few years later.
Yeah, it's not an uncommon circumstance for him. I think also this idea of the Doctor as like an imaginary character or like a fairy tale, something like that. A lot of Moffat's stuff in his time as showrunner is sort of fairy tale adjacent, I would say, as far as like a lot of the overarching plot and like character stuff. There's like that magical sort of element to it.
Yeah, I call it later the mystique or the mythos of the Doctor.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, where we're going to disagree.
Okay. All right, cool. Moving on.
Yes. So moving on very quickly, long story short, Renette basically just starts making out with the Doctor.
Yeah, she low-key attacks him.
Yeah. And he's into it.
Yeah, he's very into it.
He doesn't mind.
No.
Yeah, and I wrote this down too. Moffat has a very weird thing about girls who meet the Doctor when they're young and then wanting to make out with him immediately once they're older. So Amy, Renette, and River.
Yeah, you're not. Yep. That's a pattern. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I would say River is the outlier among those three, but
she actually has a, romantic relationship with him to an extent.
Well, and like literally part of her character is that she's like crazy. So you can be like, okay. But for these other two, you're like, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a thing for Moffat.
Yeah.
But yeah, Renette is being called away. And finally, someone calls her by her last name, Poisson. I'm, again, probably saying that wrong because I think that's
French. Pretty close.
But the Doctor immediately starts freaking out. Renette Poisson, Madame du Pompadour, the future official chief mistress to King Louis the 15th.
Yeah.
She is the uncrowned, future at this point, future uncrowned Queen of France.
Right.
Yeah. And he's really excited because he just kissed Madame du Pompadour.
Yeah.
Or sorry, snogged.
Yeah, he snogged her. She snogged him, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She pounced. And with that afterglow, he Scooby Doo doors right back onto the spaceship.
Yeah, for sure. I got a few notes here.
Yeah.
I mean, I loved David Tennant's face, like all the stuff he was doing with his face in this scene.
He's such a good actor.
Is real good because he goes real fast from like, kind of uncertain what's going on to like, oh wait, you're flirting with me, I'm kind of here for that. Oh wait, we're kissing now. And like when she stops kissing him and like immediately just walks away, the look on his face is like he has been shot with an arrow by Cupid. Like he's in love, full on like adoration for a good second. And then, he kind of launches into his realization about who she is and whatnot. And then, he's like, really, the line when he goes back around the Scooby Doo fireplace, I just snogged Madame du Pompadour. Oh, and he says, also he in his list of things that he says about her, I wrote down specifically that he like shouts that she's a fantastic gardener. And I was like, why is that a thing? Like, was that just a Versailles reference or something? Or I don't know, but it was funny.
It's cute.
She's a fantastic gardener.
Yeah. It's just cute.
Yeah.
And David Tennant, he communicates so much emotion so quickly with his acting. He's my favorite actor. So words are hard. Anyway, back on the spaceship.
Yep.
Doctor calls for Mickey and Rose, and every time it's rule 1, don't wander off.
Yeah. And again, this reminded me later, I think it's 11, who's like, one day I'm gonna meet somebody who doesn't wander off. So it's a continual problem.
You're bringing people along who are brave enough to go time traveling with an alien.
Yeah.
You think they're gonna stay put?
Apparently not. Yeah.
Again, you got a type, man. I don't know what to tell you.
Right. That's the real problem here, is he has a type.
So as the Doctor is walking down the halls to try and find Rose and Mickey, we get a great shot of David Tennant's astonished face.
Yeah.
To a reverse shot of a white steed.
Yeah. A white steed. Yeah. He's like, there could be anything on this ship, cue horse.
So over in the adventures of Mickey and Rose, Mickey is very excited. He is holding that fire extinguisher like it's a gun. He is in Halo right now. He is ready to go. He is doing rolls on the floor. This man is ready for anything.
I mean, and like the fire extinguisher thing is sort of gun shaped, to be fair. It's very large and clunky. Like, I don't know why they decided to make it that big. That was one thing I thought. I was like, it looks kind of like they're struggling a little bit with these.
Like, it looks heavy.
Yeah, it looks heavy. It looks clunky. So I would just be curious to talk to somebody on that production team and be like, why did you make these things so huge? Like, it probably didn't need to be that big. But anyway.
You know, you got to put all the CO2. Is that what's in the fire extinguisher?
Sure. And spray foam. And you got to have room for it. So big gun. Yeah, big gun. Yeah.
So Mickey is exploring and he comes across a camera that's watching him. And it's a literal eyeball in the camera. And Rose, not as excited as Mickey, casually walks into the shot and is also looking at this eyeball in the camera. And we hear something beating. It's like Edgar Allan Poe, right?
Yeah,
just
a little bit.
Boom, 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 boom. And she opens up a little tiny hatch on the wall of the ship, and there is a human heart wired into the ship.
Yeah. Yep. And they're both shocked.
How could you not be?
Yeah. I mean, as soon as they started hearing it, and, you know, we started hearing it, and they were like, what is that? I was like, you guys, you know what that sounds like, right? Mm-hmm. Like, we've already seen it in an eyeball. You don't know what that is? But that's okay.
Moffat, again, just he's excellent at doing creepy.
Yeah. Excellent at doing creepy. Excellent at, like, telegraphing things before you see them, and then you see it and you're like, gross.
Yes. Yeah. It's definitely, it gives Hitchcock vibes with building suspense.
Oh my god.
But he doesn't build it up as long because, you know, it's a show. It's a shorter show. We got a younger audience. We got to move things along. But he does the same technique there with suspense and drama.
For sure. Why did that just like make me think of something? I was reading in my Moffat research, I was reading something about this is about the episode he wrote for the current season that we watched. I think it was the last one that we watched together. Boom, where he's on the landmine.
Oh.
He wrote that episode, which makes a lot of sense when you go back and watch it. But he apparently I found some like interview with the director of that episode, and she said when, you know, she talked to him about it, he said that it was Hitchcock. Like And I was like,
sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I can see him from Hitchcock quite a bit.
Yeah.
Anyway, the doctor has a new companion, and it's the horse. Yeah. So he's walking around the ship, and he finds what he assumes is the door that the horse came through, and it leads to the green lawns of Versailles, where Madame du Pompadour is walking arm in arm with Guinevere from Merlin.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Angel Colby.
Cool.
Which I love how small British acting is sometimes.
Yeah, that is one I never watched, weirdly. I have not watched Merlin.
Future podcast episode.
Yeah.
Oh, man,
Make me watch it. I'll do
That's going to fall into the categories of horrible series endings.
Ah, yes. I have
But there's
heard that.
reasons for why anyway, that's a different episode.
Here we go, off on tangents.
I go off the rails a lot. What can I say? So basically what we learn in this scene is Madame de Pompadour, her goal is to become the mistress of King Louis.
Yep.
His current mistress has just died or something.
Yeah, they talk really callously about this woman's death, and I was like, okay, whatever. Maybe she was a bitch. Who knows?
We're just gonna glaze over that. And so this is her chance to swoop in and become the mistress.
Yeah, it is her ambition.
Mm-hmm. Back to the adventures of Mickey and Rose. They come up to a large window, and they're looking into a room that appears to be a palace room in France.
Yep.
And, you know, they come to the realization it's basically a, what do you call it? Like a two-way mirror, one-way mirror?
Two-way mirror.
Two-way mirror?
Yeah.
So it's a mirror on the side in the palace.
Yeah.
But it's a window for them on the spaceship.
Yeah. Like in an interrogation room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we see a fancy-looking fellow standing in the room. And great line. Just, again, fantastic dialogue writing here. Blimey, look at this guy. Who does he think he is?
Yeah.
King of France.
Literal King of France.
King of France. It's the King of France. It's King Louis. So yeah, the doctor has now found Mickey and Rose. He was the one who delivered the King of France line. Yep. Excellent timing.
He rolls in.
And, where's he been? What's he been doing? And so he sums up his deal. Became an imaginary friend of the future French aristocrat, picked a fight with a clockwork man. Oh, and I met a horse.
Yep, it's a good line.
But basically what we learn is there are gateways.
The horse walks in, by the way, in the in frame.
The horse is a companion now.
Yeah, the horse is with them.
There are gateways all over this ship that are different points in time of Madame du Pompadour's life. And in this particular scene where they're looking into this French palace room, Madame du Pompadour comes in and she is meeting the king for the first time.
Yep.
And you get a little bit of background, a little historical background on her. Again, we've said this 100 times. She is the mistress to the King of France. She was quite an accomplished woman from what I understand. Go do your own research if you're interested. Yeah, we just get a cute little line from, Mickey being like, I bet the queen loved her. And the doctor's like, yeah, they were best friends.
They were friends, actually.
Mickey's baffled.
Yeah.
And we get a great line, France is a different planet.
Yeah, I wrote that one down. Also, Rose, at one point when they're talking about like who she is and, her relationship to the king, Rose goes, oh, I get it. Camilla. And I was like, bro, whoa. So, yeah. I wonder how the people reacted to that in real time. That was funny. But
yeah, danger strikes. So Madame de Pompadour is left alone in the room, but someone's standing in the corner. It's the masked creature yet again, and she's freaked out. And so the doctor immediately not totally Scooby-Doo doors, just opens the mirror.
Yeah.
And walks into the room with the fire extinguisher and blasts the creature, freezing it.
Yep.
And yeah, she calls him Fireplace Man.
Yeah, I love it.
They immediately begin to interrogate this thing, and we find out it's a repair droid. That the ship broke down and it got stuck because they did not have the parts.
Yeah.
Okay.
The thing says we did not have the parts.
We did not have the parts.
Yeah. Which again is one of those like nice creepy one-liners of like it could mean a lot of things and there are some things it could mean that you do not want it to mean.
Well, we're getting there, baby.
Yeah. And we already kind of know, right? Because we saw the eyeball and we saw the heart. So yeah.
Yeah. This is the next question is where's the crew gone? We did not have the parts.
Yep.
But where's the crew gone?
We did not have the parts.
Put it together, people. The flight deck smelt of cooking. We saw an eyeball in a camera and a heart wired into the ship. The repair droids found the parts.
Yep.
Yep.
In the people. In the crew.
And why France? Why are these creatures here in France? And they say one more part is required, and they look directly at Madame de Pompadour, but they haven't taken her yet because, as they state, she is not complete.
She is incomplete.
And Rose asked the question, well, why her? And the only response we get, which is very cryptic, we are the same. Who knows what that means?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And for whatever reason, Madame de Pompadour does seem to have a little bit of control over these creatures.
Right.
And she orders it away, which the doctor's like, don't do that. But it's too late. The thing teleports away.
Sure.
And yeah, some fantastic dialogue writing here.
Yeah, really great. Yeah, I made a note that... Do you want to go first?
No, go ahead.
Okay. I made a note about, you didn't have the parts, so you used the crew. And yeah, I like that, like, through this whole, like, figuring this out part. I mean, I wonder how many people... Like, to me, this was obvious. Do you think this was obvious to everyone?
I mean, you have a huge audience watching this,
right,
like, age-wise, right?
True.
So, like, you're going to have kids that are like, I don't get it.
Right, for sure. Okay. Well, I like that for at least maybe the adult audience that we basically already know. Like, we've already put the dots together, but... he's still like explaining it and figuring it out in real time. So we get to watch him figure it out.
Which is another Hitchcock move, which is when the audience knows more than the characters.
Yeah.
And that helps build the suspense and the anxiety.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we get to see the doctor figure it out in real time. And then Rose is the one who actually explains it out loud in like real people terms to just be very straightforward about it. So yeah, that was super well done. I wrote here again, like the huge fucking guns they're carrying around look so silly. It looks so silly. I mean, I like it too.
I mean, like, because I love imagining this whole bit from Madame du Pompadour, right? She has her fireplace man. He's her it's the fireplace man. Right. And then all of a sudden you got these two people showing up with him with giant ass guns.
Yeah. And what do those even look like? No, I think it's great. For the record, I think it's great. And I love this era of Doctor Who because of the wackiness and the
part of the charm.
Yeah, I think I've said before, I don't mind bad effects when it's you just gotta buy in. Mm-hmm. I almost like them better in some cases. So kind of similar effect here. You just gotta buy in.
Yeah, and I think one thing that I really like about Russell T era of running Doctor Who is it doesn't take itself too seriously.
Never.
And I think part of the cheesiness of the effects and the props is
helps.
Part of that. We're not taking it too seriously.
Absolutely. And they had two nickels to rub together to make this show, as far as I know. I did also appreciate in the scene that Rose is the one who asks why her. Mm-hmm. I was like, atta girl, coming through with the correct questions.
We do not get Rose a lot in this episode, but when we do, Rose shows up she always does.
Yeah, it's great.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So yeah, we get another fantastic bit of dialogue.
Yep.
Where the Doctor wants to send Rose and Mickey after the droid, and he says, "Rose, take Mickey and Arthur. Get after it. Follow it." Rose, Arthur? Good name for a horse. You're not keeping the horse.
So
I let you keep Mickey.
Yeah.
Go.
Oh my God, I wrote in all caps, "I let you keep Mickey." That's so savage. Oh, it's so good though.
I love the rapport that Rose and the Doctor
and
have.
Again, this exchange happens in 0.7 seconds.
It's so quick.
It's so quick and so snappy and so good.
Yeah, and again, I'll give Moffat credit as far as writing good snappy dialogue between characters, especially to help establish how comfortable and how much the characters know each other.
Right. Yeah. For sure.
And trusting the audience to understand that aspect of the communication between the two of them.
Yeah, I think it also lends itself to rewatching. It's almost designed to make you rewatch it, and especially pre subtitles in this era for sure.
Fair point.
Yeah, you would have had to watch.
I did have the subtitles on for this while I was watching it.
Yeah, I kept turning them on and off, and whenever I had them off, I was like, oh shit, I missed whatever that was.
Yep.
I had to turn them back on. Yeah. So yeah.
Rose and Mickey run into the ship to find the droids and are immediately knocked out. What you gonna do? But the Doctor stays behind to scan Madame du Pompadour's brain himself, if you catch my drift. He places this is something that I've never seen happen again in the show.
Oh yeah, it happens.
Okay. He places his hands on her head and somehow goes into her mind and walks amongst her memories.
Yeah. Well, now that you mention it, I don't know if we've seen this used to this in depth. I'm assuming he got it from Classic Who.
Probably.
I
right?
don't think he would make something like that up. I'm assuming he knew that the Doctor had this ability.
Some kind of telepathic thing. And it does come up in the episode that we watched last week where he just knocks the boy out.
Yeah, he kind of touches the side of his head. Yeah, and I'm trying to remember now if I've seen who I've seen do it. Yeah, I feel 12 definitely does it. 12 does it at a distance one time. He doesn't even have to touch anybody.
Spoilers.
He can read. Yeah, he can read. It was. Yeah, I won't go into details. But yeah, it sort of comes up again. But yeah, to this extent, not really. I definitely wrote that it's a mind meld, basically.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wonder if this concept was sort of invented around the same time that was happening in Star Trek, because they are contemporaries back in the day.
Quite possible.
Or if they brought it, if they got it from Star Trek and just decided to roll with that later.
It lends itself to a really good scene.
Yeah, great scene.
Yeah, where there's this strange flirtation happening between the Doctor and Madame du Pompadour as he is walking in her mind. And, he tells her, close any doors of anything you don't want me to see. He's like, you might want to close that. Okay.
Close that one, please.
Okay, a couple of them you should close.
He says cowboys again.
Yep, and she's just loving it.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's 23. He finds out she's not old enough.
Right.
He's trying to figure out why her, and she says, "Oh, such a lonely childhood," and she shudders, and you think she's talking about herself.
Right. He makes a comment like, oh, it could bring up old memories and like, don't worry about it, it'll pass kind of thing.
Yeah. And she keeps saying, no, such a lonely childhood, doctor. What?
Yeah. And he's like, wait, when did you know my name?
You were calling me Fireplace Man just a minute ago. When did we get onto doctor terms? And her response is excellent. She says, a door once open may be stepped through in either direction. So she was walking around in his brain too.
Yep.
And he is fucking rattled.
Yeah.
He is shook to his core. One, David Tennant again knocking it out of the park with just expressions alone.
Yeah.
And two, I think a fantastic bit of story building, because she is so heartbroken.
Yeah.
By how lonely he was, and he is so scared that someone knows that.
Okay.
So we're getting insight into his past, a little tiny bit of insight into his past, and starting to see behind this like veneer of I'm cool, I'm collected, I'm fun, I'm the doctor.
Yeah. Right.
Like there's some trauma there.
Yeah. That's interesting that you read that into it. I thought it was more shocked that she was just able to reverse mind meld him, basically.
He was shocked by that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, he, but especially at this point in his story, he plays it very close to the chest.
Yeah, he has intimacy problems.
Among other things. But yeah, so yeah, good point. He was definitely shook by that. Yeah, I really like the line also, a lonely boy, lonely then, lonelier now. Again, another one of those like cadence lines that has like a rhythm to it. And bro, the connections to the episode we just watched.
Yep.
Oh my god.
Again, Moffat had an idea and he just kept teasing it out.
My man had this in the back of his head for like 10 years before he played it out again in Listen. That's nuts. That's crazy.
It is funny that we picked these episodes. It works out.
I literally can't believe it. Like I'm still flabbergasted. But yeah, it's wild.
Yeah. And Madame du Pompadour just being an awesome, awesome person and seeing how really like shook he is and wanting to comfort him, especially because like she's seen the sadness within him.
Right.
Invites him to dance with her. No, she commands him to dance with her.
I wrote, get it, girl.
Yeah. And a line that I wrote down only because it's in a Chameleon Circuit song. So every time I hear this line, I hear the song instead, where she says, there comes a time, Time Lord, when every lonely little boy must learn how to dance.
Yes. Okay. I wrote down that line and I wrote, is this a reference to something? So maybe it's because I also remembered it from that song, ages and ages ago. I also thought it might have also been a reference to something else. Do you think?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I only know it from, I only know like Chameleon Circuit uses it.
When every lonely little boy must learn how to dance. I don't know. There was something there, but maybe I'm just making a weird brain connection. But yeah, I wrote here too, like, again, his face is like, he says he can't, but does he want to.
Which of course he like allows himself to be dragged away by her.
Right.
It's very exciting.
Yeah, he's like low-key, high-key falling in love with her a little bit.
Oh, yeah, no. I mean, yeah.
A little bit, a lot of it. Yeah.
For sure. So back to the mishap adventures of Mickey and Rose. Rose wakes up and her and Mickey are both strapped down to some sort of, how would you describe that? It's not laying down on a table. They're like,
yeah.
I don't
like,
know words.
Can y'all imagine Frankenstein's monster? On the table thing, and it like kind of tilts up and down.
Yeah.
It's like that.
They're at like a 70-degree angle. I don't know.
Sure. Yeah.
Go with that.
They're like strapped to this thing.
They're strapped
and
down.
Like, yeah, they can't move.
Yeah. And Mickey is rightly panicking because they're going to be torn apart, which we immediately find out is true because the droids say you are compatible.
Yeah, which is not what you want to be.
Yeah. And Rose starts trying to bluff her way out of the situation by evoking the mystique of the doctor.
Yeah. You don't want to mess with our designated driver.
And she's going on a rant at this point, trying to bluff her way out of this. Have you heard of the Daleks? Do you know them?
Yeah.
They have a name for my friend, and they have myths about him, and they call him, and cut to the banana scene.
Banana scene, hell yeah.
A very drunk David Tennant enters.
Yeah.
Singing twirling around.
Yeah.
Tie tied around his head.
Yep.
Dark sunglasses, evoking Crowley. Carrying a golden goblet, evoking Jack Sparrow.
Okay.
And Rose says, look what the cat dragged in the oncoming storm.
Yeah.
Which that's where she was going. The oncoming storm is the name that the Daleks have for the Doctor. That is one of his
many titles.
Many titles.
Yes.
That is part of the mythos, mystique of the Doctor.
He's like a, what am I thinking of? Yeah, he's like a Tolkien character. He has like 17 names, and they're all like weird and. Am I wrong?
No. I'm just gonna start calling the Doctor Strider from now on.
It could be one of his names. I think it would work.
Would fit.
It would work. It wouldn't be bad.
No.
Yeah.
An outcast, roaming the lands.
Uh-huh.
Helping little people.
Yeah.
In his eyes.
Helping little people. Oh man. Can you imagine the Doctor and hobbits?
Crossover of the century.
Somebody's written it already.
Anyway.
I mean, are you going to go through this whole bit?
I wrote some things down. Okay. So yeah, the Doctor appears to be drunk.
Yeah.
And, what have you been up to, man?
Yeah.
We've been here tied up. Like, what's going on? And he goes on to this little thing about how he invented the banana daiquiri a couple of centuries early.
Yep.
Did you know they've never even seen bananas before? Yeah. Always take a banana to a party, Rose. Bananas are good.
Yep.
And then eloquently he starts insulting the droids by just calling them thickety thick heads from thick Sylvania. And so's your dad.
Yeah, it's like extremely juvenile.
Yeah. And
funny.
Again, I credit where credit's due. Moffat, as a writer and dialogue, he knows when to pull what levers, when to be serious, when to, as you're saying, cadence his lines and make sure they have an impact, and when to just be off the walls.
And when you can give David Tennant batshit stuff to do and it will work. You know.
Let that man chew the scenery.
Let him work. Let him cook.
Yes. But the reason the Doctor is insulting the droids and calling them thickety thick heads from thick Sylvania is because the ship is 37 years old, and they think Renette, Madame du Pompadour, needs to be 37 years old to be complete, because then her brain will be compatible.
Right.
One of the parts that the ship is still missing is the command circuit, the brain of the ship. So they want her brain for the command circuit.
Yeah.
And then we find out that his goblet of wine is not wine.
Correct.
That he's holding, because he dumps it on top of one of the droids' head and it immediately falls over. And space jargon here, multi-grade anti-oil.
Yeah.
Is what he says. So yeah, Jack Sparrow moment, as I'm saying, drunk guy who you think is drunk and doesn't know what's going on and is a bumbling idiot. And actually no, he's stumbling his way into being kind of clever.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
And he frees Mickey and Rose.
Yeah, real quick on that, on the Jack Sparrow note, what year was this episode? So Revival started in 2005. This must have been 2006.
It must have been. And Pirates came out 2003.
Yeah, so not too far off.
Yeah.
Possibly the second one was out by now. So, yep, it's an
inspired performance.
It's a pop culture touchstone at this point for sure. Yeah.
And I keep evoking Jack Sparrow for a reason, because it's part of my rant at the end of this episode. A small part, granted, but a part. Anyway, there is a report from the field. The Doctor is trying to close down the portals between the ship and Madame du Pompadour's timeline, but he can't, because one of the droids is still out there. They are preventing him from shutting this portal down.
Yep.
And the report from the field is she's complete. They have finally found the point in time where she is 37. And all the droids that are surrounding them teleport away. So it is nighttime in Versailles. And Madame du Pompadour is watching a not broken clock. And we hear someone approaching.
Yep.
Tension building. It's just Rose.
It's Rose. Yeah.
And she's there to give Renette a warning that the droids are going to be coming in 5 years' time.
Yep.
Sometime after her 37th birthday. They don't know when exactly. There's some timey-wimey stuff going on as they try to explain the situation. Go watch the episode.
Yeah.
But basically, Rose is trying to explain the whole situation to an 18th century French noble person without using contemporary terms, right?
Right.
It's a challenge. And yet, Madame du Pompadour gets the gist right away and uses a beautiful metaphor to sum up what Rose said.
Yeah.
Even better.
Yeah, I wrote that Renette explains the concept beautifully. And it's a nice role reversal of the doctor having to explain stuff to the companion. You know, this is, you know, and she's not really a companion, but like she's kind of playing that role in this episode. The companion, like just having the knowledge already, or at least just, you know, grabbing on very quickly.
Yeah. And then we get, where she is asking Rose, like, I can't see him before then. Like, what's going on?
Yeah, where is he?
Yeah, and Rose is like, well, that's not really how it works. It's kind of complicated. He'll be there, though, when you need him. Mm-hmm. And Madame du Pompadour responds, that's the way it always been. The monsters and the doctor, you cannot have one without the other. Mm-hmm. And again, I give credit where credit's due. Moffat can really drop a banging line.
It's a banger.
Without it feeling forced or awkward, where it fits with the flow of the dialogue, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But then, and I am spoiling a little bit of my rant here. She makes a comment again a few seconds later. It's worth it to tolerate a world of demons for the sake of an angel. And I'm like, okay, all right, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
I wrote, ooh, girl, you got it bad.
We hear Mickey calling after Rose, and basically they found the portal that the droids found. They found Madame du Pompadour at 37, and he's leaning out from behind a tapestry. And Madame du Pompadour loves a secret passageway, nudge, nudge, wink, wink, and immediately goes behind the tapestry and walks onto the spaceship. And she's understandably freaked out. And she can hear screams. And Rose explains that the doctor managed to get an audio link working, space jargon.
Yep.
Basically, it's her future. It screams from her future.
She's hearing herself.
Yeah. And she resolves to take the slower path and live out her life until that point in time comes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she admits to Rose that she is afraid and then says, you and I both know the doctor is worth the monsters. And I get it, man. I fucking get it.
Yeah, to your point, I wish that it would have been just the first line. So that's the way it's always been. The monsters and the doctor, it seems you cannot have one without the other.
Great.
And
Fantastic.
then I think this line, you and I both know, don't we, Rose, that the doctor is worth the monsters. I think pairing those two would have worked a lot better without the angel line.
Yeah. It's just overkill for me.
Yeah, I appreciated this conversation with Rose because she's saying this to Rose to relate to her and like sees herself somewhat in Rose and like their relationship to the doctor, I guess. So, you know, it's like a little bit of characterization for Rose as well without actually without her saying any of that or, you know, so. Yeah.
I'm going to probably expand on that a little bit later. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, and I also wrote here, sorry, real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
That I wrote, I mean, yeah. And I wrote, that's the choice of every companion, basically.
True.
Is like, you pick, do you want the monsters and the doctor, or do you want none of them? Mm-hmm. That's the choice.
Which, again, for me, I'm like, you put it in there once where it flows naturally with the conversation. I'm like, it's a good line. It's a banger. And then it just keeps happening. It just keeps happening.
Fair enough.
That's when I start to get exhausted. Anyway. We are now back to where we began when we entered this episode. There are masked patrons running through the halls of Versailles and screaming as the droid creatures march towards them and herd them into one of the ballrooms. And Madame du Pompadour is in her room yelling into the fireplace, "Doctor, you said you come, doctor."
Yep.
And the droids come and they grab her and they're dragging her to the ballroom.
Oh, and you know, when she's yelling and stuff, this is the scene we saw at the beginning of the episode. This was the cold open. So now we're back. We're full circle. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We get a quick little cop-out explanation that they have to bring her to the ballroom because the teleport has limited range. So that's where they have to go. Not that it's ever been a problem before.
Right. We just need a bigger room. Come on.
We need a grand entrance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be worth it. It's going to be worth it.
This is the part of the episode where it's because.
Right. Exactly. It's Doctor Who. Go with it.
Yeah.
Roll with it. Yeah.
Why is this happening? Because.
Yeah. Because it's fun.
Yes. Meanwhile, the Doctor, Rose, and Mickey are on the spaceship, and they can see the chaos. We're again looking through a two-way mirror, one-way mirror, whatever it is. They're looking through, for them, a window out onto the ballroom, and they can see the droids rounding everybody up. They can see Madame du Pompadour being dragged into the room, and then we get some quick little one-off explanations of why can't we use the TARDIS? We're part of events now. It's not going to work. Yeah. Why can't we smash the window? It'll break the link and we won't be able to get back. It'll destroy the time portals. Yeah. Why now? I don't know. Because
again, rapid fire, like space jargon, random explanation pipe.
Yeah. The point is they're in an impossible situation. Yeah. They can't use the time machine. And if they try to break through, they're going to be stuck in 17th century France.
Right.
18th century France.
1700s.
But Madame du Pompadour knows how to run a room.
Yeah, she does.
Yeah, she immediately takes control of the situation.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
Gives a great speech about how they're French, which I don't see how that applies.
Yeah, I didn't it did calm everybody down, I guess. She was like, come on, y'all, we're French.
Your point.
Yeah.
But other than that line, she gives a great rousing speech.
Yeah.
Gets everyone to calm down. And she faces down her monsters. And, she's trying to be brave. But, this is 18th century France, so they are going to cut off her head.
Yeah, I did note that. I wrote, a nice French beheading.
You can't be in France without a beheading.
Nah.
And, she's like, I don't fear you. And it shows. It shows on her face. She is staring him down. She is brave. She has been preparing for this moment. And she's, you're just a nightmare from my childhood. And if my nightmares can return to plague me, then rest assured, so will yours. And again, it does work here.
Get 'em.
But we'll get into it. We'll get into it in my rant. So White Knight much?
No kidding.
We hear the sound of a horse's whinny and the clip clop,
Except faster.
Much faster. And the mirror shatters, and through it comes the Doctor riding on Arthur.
Arthur the white horse.
And gives a very excellent, cheeky little wink to Madame du Pompadour as
very cheeky.
Rides through the ballroom.
He's like, I know I'm the shit.
And we do get a fun line here where King Louis is just like, question mark? And the Doctor's like, question mark? And Madame du Pompadour is like, oh yeah, sorry, this is my lover, the King of France. And the Doctor just says, well, I'm the Lord of Time.
I wrote, my guy, who are you trying to fight?
But I think this is fun. I think...
Oh, it's great.
It's just to me, this helps undermine the Doctor's mystique a little bit, where he's just like, haha, the Lord of Time. He's almost making fun of himself a little bit.
Yeah.
And just poking fun at labels and titles in general.
Okay. I kind of got that he was playing it more seriously than that.
It's a little bit of showboating and a little bit of...
Fair enough.
What are titles?
And because to your point, he says, well, I'm the Lord of Time and I'm here to fix the clock. Mm-hmm. Is the follow-up to that. Yeah. So.
But basically, it's over. The window has been smashed, so therefore all the time links between 18th century France and that spaceship, they're all broken.
Again,
why? Because
don't ask too many questions. We're going.
Yeah. And there's some well-written dialogue. I honestly didn't write any down, but the point is, it's over. The monsters need to die now.
I wrote one thing down that is going to be part of the things that I talk about later. So when he's, monologuing at the automatons, basically saying the link to the ship is broken, no way back, you don't have the parts. So
that's a good callback.
Bring that around. I will speak more to that later, but yeah.
Yeah. And all the monsters.
And he also says, I'm not winding you up.
Yes.
I was like, dude.
The double meaning there.
Yeah.
But the monsters just stop ticking and fall over and die. Why? Because
we needed them to at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Come on.
Yeah. Because it's over.
Yeah. He says they've stopped. They have no purpose now.
That's the cop-out explanation.
Yeah. Well, and I was trying to search my brain at that point for what other point are we trying to make with that? I didn't quite get there, so, but okay.
Yeah.
We're moving on.
Yeah. Basically, we get a quick shot of Mickey and Rose and the realization that they are trapped on the spaceship. They have the TARDIS, but they can't fly it.
Yeah. I will point out here real quick. I noticed at this point, so like after we've just defeated the robots, I like hit my remote and I was like, oh, we still have 10 minutes left. What's going on?
Yeah. So it's later in the evening and the doctor is having a drink with Madame du Pompadour and they're having a nice conversation.
Yeah, a lot of drinks in this episode, surprisingly. Anyway.
Unusual for Doctor Who.
I guess the French.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And this is why I called out earlier the Lord of Timeline, because he makes a comment of where she says like, oh, you know all the names of every star. I saw it in your head. Yep. And he says, well, what's in a name? Names are just titles, and titles don't tell you anything. And she playfully says, like the Doctor.
Right.
And he says, like Madame du Pompadour.
Yeah.
And they're poking fun. And again, this is when I like Moffat, where I'll get into this a little bit more, but he builds up this character who's almost mythic, right?
Yeah.
And magical and profound. And then he uses little moments to undercut that and bring them back down to earth. Yeah, and so this tiny little bit of dialogue too just helps the audience understand that both of these characters are so much more than the titles that are placed upon them, because they're so much less powerful than the titles that are placed upon them, which I think is just fun. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, I did make a note here too for the what's in a name line that will be a more central question going forward, and I think kind of to my point earlier too about the Doctor making a comment like, oh, that's a lovely name. I don't know, like names are like a fun little theme we come back to a lot. And like, yeah, why are people named the way they are? Yeah.
A lot.
What?
Oh my God, especially with Moffat. Oh my God.
Yeah, buddy. And I think that's interesting. I've always been interested in names and like the etymology of names and like meanings and all that kind of stuff. So,
yeah. And especially in anything like story telling,
right.
Names
Fiction
are important.
Very important. Yeah. So,
yeah. And they have some cute, cheeky, flirty dialogue. Doctor makes some comments about how he doesn't understand money.
Yeah. He's like, oh shit, I need money now.
Yeah. And Renette is smart. She picks up that, he's stuck here. He's going to have to take the slow path with her.
Yep.
Or does he? She grabs his hand and leads him to her bedroom. It's not where you think it's going. The fireplace from her bedroom in Paris. The exact fireplace. The original. She had it taken apart and sent to Versailles and rebuilt in Versailles. It is her fireplace. And she said, I had it here and, in the hopes that a door once open may be opened again, just in case someone needs their doctor.
Again, a nice callback to the mind meld moment. Mm-hmm. Doors opening. And
for reasons, because this is Doctor Who, and because the fireplace link still works. He can get back to the ship.
He's like poking around and he's like, if I'm very, 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 very lucky. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and sure enough.
And he's lucky. But this is where we enter what I call the Doctor's toxic trait.
Okay.
So he, reunites with Mickey and Rose.
I mean, yeah, you're not wrong.
Yeah. Well, before he leaves, he quickly tells Madame du Pompadour, pack a bag, pick a star, 10 minutes. Give me 10 minutes.
I'll be right back.
Yeah. He reunites with Mickey and Rose, tells them to wait by the TARDIS. Go ahead.
Yeah, just real quick right before that. So he actually says that to her through the fireplace once he's on the other side.
Yes.
But initially he's like about to hit the lever and he says, wish me luck. And she just says no. And I was like, bro, oh, it slaps. I was like, oh, stabbed in the heart. And yeah, they have like a look as he's like, again, Scooby Dooing.
Yes.
around to the other side of the fireplace. But then that's when he like talks to her through the actual
so
fireplace.
We know it's okay. He can still see her. He can still talk to her.
Yeah. But like unbeknownst to us at that point. Yeah. Anyway, continue.
Yeah. So tells Mickey and Rose, wait by the TARDIS. I'll be right back. He's going to go grab Madame du Pompadour. And he Scooby Doo's back to France.
Again.
Yes. And this is why I say it's the Doctor's toxic trait.
Yeah.
He sees King Louis and it's raining. It's daytime. So time has passed. And King Louis says, oh, you just missed her. She'll be in Paris by 6. And he remarks on how much time has passed since he last met the Doctor. Mm-hmm. And he hands the Doctor a letter. And again, just a great bit of storytelling here with the show Don't Tell.
Yeah, buddy.
We hear the crack of a whip, horses whinny, we hear a carriage being dragged, and we get a shot of a hearse leaving Versailles. And there she goes, leaving for the last time. So she's dead.
Yep.
Rip.
Yeah, I don't think, I mean, Ten doesn't say a whole word this whole time, right?
Mm-mm. He's just heartbroken.
The king is kind of explaining, he gives him this letter, etc. You continue.
Yeah. I mean, that's really what the doctor's toxic trait is he promises people things and then shows up too late.
Yeah, and like leaves people behind.
Yeah.
Which, you know, sometimes is like, it's what he has to do.
Mm-hmm.
But in this case, it's definitely like, dude, if you would have thought for 5 seconds about how this was going to go based on how all the other times went before.
Yep.
You might have foreseen this. He probably even knew how old she would have been when she died.
He should have.
Yeah.
Right, because
I guess maybe he didn't, but
he knows so much.
Yeah.
Like, that's established with his characters.
Right.
He's a walking encyclopedia.
Yeah. So he definitely should have known.
Yeah.
And he's sad. He's sad about it.
He's very sad.
He's mad sad about it.
So he gets the letter from the king, tucks it away in his pocket, doesn't say a word.
Right.
And we enter the denouement. Again, if I'm butchering that, don't blame me, blame French.
I wrote this is the proper ending.
We're in the TARDIS now with Mickey and Rose, and we get the question again. Why her? Why were they so obsessed with her? Why did they want her brain?
Right.
And the doctor's answer is, I don't know. Well, we're probably never going to know why they chose her.
Yep.
It's sweet. Rose can tell the doctor's upset. She even asks if he's okay, and he's like, I'm okay. I'm always okay. I'm always happy, basically. Yeah. And obviously he's not. And so Mickey just kind of drags Rose away and said, like, you know, show me the rest of the ship. Like, let's leave him alone. He needs a minute. And we just get the classic, what I call the tragedy of the time traveler, which is, just wrong place, wrong time.
Well, and I wrote, here we are with the lonely boy, lonelier then and lonelier now.
Yeah. And we do get the letter is read voiceover by Renette. Nothing, I don't have anything written down that's too profound here. It's just a very sweet little letter to him.
I have one line written down is that she says, I think I shall not listen to reason, which is something he told her. I think true. in their first meeting, I think. Yeah. Because she says something like, oh, reason tells me that like I should be afraid of you. And he's like, well, you should never listen to reason. So. Yeah.
And again, David Tennant just acting on point. He doesn't say a word as he's reading the letter. He doesn't have to say a word. His facial expressions tell it all. I know you're probably going to go into micro expressions at some point.
A little bit.
And I would assume this is a good example.
Yes. Yes. I would have to rewatch the scene. I don't know if this is micro as much as it is just expression.
Okay. I mean, I don't know what they are yet, so you're going to have to fill me in on this.
You're going to learn. Very, very soon, actually, you're going to learn.
Ooh, exciting.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Anything else?
Just the last shot.
Yeah. I wrote just like that we have this final wide shot to show him alone in the console room. Again, like the sense of loneliness, I think, is obviously where we're going with this.
Yeah. Even when he has companions.
Yeah. And then do you want to do the final reveal of the...
Yeah. The final reveal. The TARDIS noise kicks in again.
Yep.
Insert noise here. And as it's disappearing, from behind the TARDIS, we can see a portrait of Madame du Pompadour.
Yeah.
And the last shot of the episode is from the outside, looking at the spaceship as it's rotating within space. And as it turns, it's revealed that the ship's name is Madame du Pompadour.
Yeah. Again, why?
Because. But at least we, as the audience, get the explanation of why they chose her.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
end of episode.
Yeah. All right. What are your thoughts before I jump into my rant?
Yeah, it's a great episode. I really enjoyed it. I think we can call this one a fan favorite.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. I can definitely see why. I had some notes. Where did I put them? Oh yeah, just hella timey-wimey. I mean, again, which is one of Moffat's strengths.
For sure.
Is the timey-wimey.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I wrote, let's see what else. The Lonely Doctor is a theme we're going to carry forward. I mean, well into 11, a bit into 12. And like 13 like tries to heal herself, but it doesn't work. And now we have 15, who's like mostly happy.
Well, that's because he, what was it? He bi-generated and put all of his trauma into David Tennant Doctor.
David Tennant Part 2.
Gets to go to therapy.
Right.
And the other one gets to go have
and
fun.
be with Donna. Yeah.
If you don't understand that, don't worry.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it at all. But my point being, the Lonely Doctor is like a thing we're going to carry forward. And it's like a thing we've already been doing. But probably the first instance of this for David Tennant's Doctor. Because this is only his 4th episode, right?
Right, yeah.
And like the episodes before this were what? Love and Monsters, which is like a throwaway. Right. And I mean Christmas Invasion, but that's mostly like fun.
He's knocked out for most of it.
Yeah, he's knocked out for most of it, and then he's fun. So I feel like this is one of the first episodes where we get the sad,
New
sad
Earth,
cat.
New Earth and Tooth and Claw and School Reunion.
Yeah.
Those are all
fluff.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is probably your first kind of more serious.
More emotional.
More emotional. That's a good phrase for it. Yeah, not much of a Rose episode, but what can you do?
No. Sorry, I do love Rose, but...
Yeah, I mean, no, there was a lot to talk about here.
Yeah.
I did make a note at one point that like, Mickey is really just the comic relief guy, isn't he?
This is why I love him, though.
Okay, fair enough.
He's like a little puppy.
Yeah. Sometimes it grates on me a little bit. I'm like, man, you were so dumb. Like, could you be a little bit less dumb? But he's pure of heart, you know. Yeah, and like a classic Moff ending, she dies.
She dies, rip.
So what can you do? But
yeah, I mean, like,
we're making a point for sure.
Sprinkles of tragedy in there.
Yeah. Well, and it's like, again, it's like a known tragedy. Like you could have Googled this. I'm assuming she actually died at age 43.
I'm assuming they're going to be historically accurate.
Yeah.
With that. Yeah.
Yeah. So you could have Googled it at any point and known this was coming.
Right.
Probably. But yeah, it still punches. Yeah. So yeah, let me just have a quick scroll to see if I missed anything. Yeah, just like the under the fucking bed scene. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe. Oh, we got to talk about the production.
Oh yeah.
So this was 2 sets next to each other, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, literally 2 different sets built.
The one scene in particular with Mickey poking his head through the tapestry, you can literally see both sets at the same time.
It's great.
Yeah.
I love it. I'm super I mean, like, yeah, that's the type of thing that might still be done practically today, but also might be done with way more CGI today. And there's
Probably because it's so much cheaper.
CGI is cheaper?
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's not a bit of it in this whole episode. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's probably invisible CGI that
there's definitely CGI when he breaks through the glass.
Sure.
Yeah. On the horse, because you're not going to have a horse go through a mirror.
Yeah. So yeah, some like smaller stuff that you wouldn't like think about,
right?
And like space, I guess.
Space, TARDIS, disappearing, reappearing. But
nothing like real obvious. And then I mean, having that rotating fireplace that's just going back and forth. It's so much fun.
Yeah, and the monsters being practical too.
Yeah,
which is crazy. How do they do that?
It is very crazy. Yeah, I would love to. I mean, and there's behind the scenes stuff for almost all of Doctor Who. Do you not know about this?
No.
Dude, yeah, it's called like Doctor Who Unlimited or something. It's on YouTube. Like you can find old episodes on YouTube. They still do it.
What I'm doing for the next few days.
Yeah, they still do it, and they do all this like BTS behind the scenes stuff about production and interviews with the actors and writers and all that stuff. So I haven't watched a ton of it, obviously, but I've seen bits and pieces, and
I'm gonna check that out.
I gotta imagine that there's some of that for this episode. And I would love to hear about the set design and the production and all that stuff, because there's a lot going on, and most of it's practical, which is great. Yeah, it's fun stuff.
I almost wonder if they even shot some of the scenes at Versailles.
I had to wonder that too. Yeah, like when he was in the garden.
Few shots of like the exterior.
Yeah. And I mean, that's not that far, right, from England. Like we could hop, skip, and a jump over there. Right.
And I'm sure the licensing fee wouldn't be that big if you're only there for a day or two.
Well, and it didn't. When we were actually, in that scene, it didn't look CGI. No. Really, it looked pretty real, I thought. So.
Hold on.
See if you could find it.
We're gonna Google now.
Yeah, and then there's the one scene where towards the end, when they're in the spaceship, they're trying to get through to her in the ballroom, and they're looking through the window. I made a note about that, of like what's going on there. How are they doing that? Because that looked weird to me.
Inconclusive on Versailles. Sorry.
Okay. Did you hear me about the...
Nope.
Okay. Okay. So let me find it in my notes. It's at the end when they are trying to save her. Like the doctor's bouncing around the control room or whatever. He's like saying all the reasons why they can't go through. And the way they have it set up so there's quite a large window into where they're looking into the ballroom. Mm-hmm. But at that point it looks like a projection or something. Like it looks different.
It does, yeah.
So yeah, I made a note about just like what is going on there because I'm not sure.
Although it could be just because when we get the shot later of Mickey and Rose being trapped on the spaceship, we see where the window would have been and we see just the wall of the ship.
Okay. I feel like they might have just moved some stuff around for visual reasons.
Probably.
Because something I was like, I feel like that wasn't there before. And then like, it looks really big to me. You know, obviously we're going to fit a horse through it. So I guess it has to be. That was like the one shot of it, I guess, where I questioned if it was CGI or if it was practical. Yeah.
Yeah, but other than that,
super fun. I mean, just like, yeah, the Scooby Dooing between the sets is so much fun.
Yeah.
No matter what way you're doing it. Fireplace, windows, whatever.
Yeah, not just the Scooby Dooing, but the timey-wimey,
yeah.
wibbly wobbly.
We're doing a lot of terms. Mm-hmm. We're making a lot of terms. I feel like we have to use Scooby Doo as a verb going forward.
If it ever comes up again in a show, which I'm sure it will.
Yeah, to Scooby Doo. I feel like it's going to come up in Psych.
I can think of a few episodes, yes.
Awesome. All right. Anything else you want to mention about this episode specifically?
No, just my Moffat rant. So, hey y'all, we are at the end of discussing the Girl in the Fireplace episode.
Yes.
And we just got done recording our discussion on Moffat.
Yeah, Moffat era.
Yep.
Doctor
and
Who.
It turned out to be a lot longer of a discussion than we anticipated.
Yeah, we both had many points.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is make that its own minisode called The Trial of Moffat.
Do we want to commit to that title?
I'm committed to that title. Like you said, your defense of Moffat. So my prosecution of Moffat.
Sure. Fair enough.
So, and if you're interested in that, you should be aware that there's a lot of spoilers. We're talking a lot about different elements of Doctor Who throughout the eras. So if you're not a fan of the show and you don't know a lot about it, you might not really...
You can skip it.
Yeah, you can skip it. Feel free to listen to it, but you might not understand everything that we're talking about.
Yeah. I think we do make some cool points.
I think we make great points.
Yeah. So,
Amanda has a really good hot take at the end of it.
Ooh.
And that's not even that's not me trying to say something to get you to listen to it and listen to the end. Like, no, it's a solid hot take.
Oh, thanks,
not
friend.
heard that. No, seriously.
Yeah, I think it was too.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it until I was talking it out.
Blew my mind.
Oh my God. Amazing. Yes. We love it.
Yeah. So if you're a Whovian, go check it out because
Yeah.
it's a good discussion and join us in that discussion, please.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you want to share your opinion with us, please do so. Please keep it nice and cordial in the comments or wherever you are leaving us feedback. You can also email us at theshowofpod@gmail.com. But keep it all very civil.
This is our virtual gentleman's handshake to you all. Amanda and I did a gentleman's handshake before we started.
Yep.
So we would
and
be
it
cordial.
worked.
And it worked. So
we didn't fight.
handshake to all of you.
Yeah.
We're interested in your opinions.
Absolutely. All right.
Yeah. All right. So should we jump back into the Girl in the Fireplace and talk about the rating?
Oh yeah, we gotta do. Oh shit, I don't have a rating. I don't have a rating this time.
Oh no.
Oh man, I gotta think of one real quick. Do you have one?
I mean, should I play the Jeopardy music while you think?
Right. I feel like this happens a lot to you though.
I know. I came prepared this time.
Oh man, I feel like if I just scroll through my notes real quick, I'll find something.
You always think of good ones.
All right, I got one.
Okay. I'll go ahead and give mine first.
Yeah, go for it.
All right. So my episode rating for this week's episode is I think this episode is worth bringing a bunch, not a single banana to the party.
Oh, damn it. Mine was going to be similar. Now I got to do a different one. This is rated one bunch of bananas for the party. I love it. Yeah, no, I was going to say 1 out of 1 bananas to bring to the party. Yeah, now I got to do a different one. Let me have a look. Okay. Oh, I got a good one actually. I wrote a note actually that I can't believe I didn't say before, so this is giving me an opportunity.
All right.
I'm giving this 1 out of 1 Chekhov's horse. Cuz that boy was there and I was like, how's that going to come back later?
I like it. Arthur Chekhov's horse.
And he comes back brilliantly.
Yep.
Sweet.
All right. So that brings us to Amanda. What are we talking about next week?
Next time on the show off. It's a new theme, everybody. So we are taking a break from Doctor Who. Do not worry if you're a fan. We will be returning to the show eventually. But our next theme that we're doing is shows that were canceled too early, or what I like to call Only the Good Die Young.
Oh, I always call them brilliant but canceled.
Brilliant
but I like
but canceled.
Only the Good Die Young. I like that better.
I mean, yeah, they're both valid for sure. And yeah, I would imagine we'll probably also revisit this topic in the future.
We'll
because
have to.
I can think of at least 3 off the top of my head.
Same.
That, we could talk about. But yeah, I had to pick just one for today.
Especially in the era of Netflix.
Right? Dude. We could do a whole episode on that.
Oh, dear.
Oh, man. But this one, we're going to be reaching back a little bit further. We'll be watching yet another 2000/2010s procedural. Do you have any guesses? This is a show I've definitely talked to you about.
Lie to Me.
Yeah, buddy, we're watching Lie to Me. Yeah.
I'm excited. Okay. Sorry, I will let you go.
Go for it.
You sent me so many Snapchats when you were rewatching this.
Yeah.
And I really want to see it, so I'm glad that I'm going to be forced to watch an episode of this. I'm excited.
Yeah. I think I picked a good one, too. So this show was a procedural, basically a crime drama that aired on Fox, premiered January 21st, 2009, and ran until January 31st, 2011. So just a short couple of years. It was like 2.5 seasons, basically. It got canned like mid-3rd season. It was like ratings were that bad. I think it was unjustly canceled, personally. It was definitely trending down. Like, it was not as good as it was, but I think it deserved the chance to redeem itself.
Sure.
I think it could have gone for a solid 3 seasons. Like, I think 3 seasons would have been perfect. Full seasons. Yeah, so I'll give you a few of the stats and the IMDb description and all that stuff. I always trip up on IMDb. Why is it so hard to say?
I always say IMBD.
Yeah, right. My brain wants to mix up the letters. So created by Samuel Baum, who also worked on a show called The Evidence, which was in 2006, and a show called The Irrational, which was more recently in 2023. And it's interesting because I was just kind of like scrolling through his IMDb stuff. And that newer show actually looks to be sort of along similar lines to Lie to Me a little bit. It's about like behavioral science and like, again, like a crime drama angle, but using behavioral science to predict people's behavior, which is a lot of what Lie to Me is. So very interesting that they're bringing like a sort of similar concept back around now. Like,
well, it's like what we were saying with Moffat. You got an idea and you want to tease it out.
Yeah.
You keep going for it.
Exactly. Like keep finding new ways to bring it to life. So yeah, I think that's just like interesting to note. But back to Lie to Me. So the IMDb description reads, Cal Lightman, the world's leading deception expert, studies facial expressions and involuntary body language to expose the truth behind the lies. That's the description. I think it's a pretty good general description. Yeah.
I mean, the way you've always described it to me is he's a human lie detector.
More or less. Yeah. And I'll get into it a little bit. But yeah, starring Tim Roth as Cal Lightman, Kelly Williams as Gillian Foster, Brendan Hines as Eli Loker, Monica Raymond as Rhea Torres, and Haley McFarland as Emily Lightman, which is Cal's daughter. So yeah, so basically it's a crime show, but they are not cops. They are contractors for the government and the FBI and like sometimes local police and various other organizations. And they are brought in to various cases to see when people are lying because they are, basically deception experts. As you said, human lie detectors. The character of Cal is based on a real doctor, Dr. Paul Ekman, I believe, who created this science around microexpressions.
Oh.
So here we are. Yeah,
yes.
buddy.
Finally.
So I know, right? You're going to get an education. It's going to be great.
Oh, I'm excited.
Yeah.
Because you've alluded to this so many times, and I've always been like, I want to know more.
So fucking fascinating.
Yes.
Oh my God. So micro expressions and body language, like being able to read those to basically know when people are lying and be able to tease information out of people without actually getting them to say anything. And yeah, so like their group, basically their firm, is brought into these various cases. But yeah, I like the setup where it's like they're not the cops or whatever, they're like an outside business basically, and there is a fair amount of drama around like them trying to keep this business afloat. So
I like that.
For me,
like
as a business owner, that's now more interesting than ever.
But that makes it fun too, because there's an added I guess risk. What's the word I'm looking for? Like stake. There's another stake.
Yeah, exactly. Like this is their livelihood.
Yeah.
Like they're not paid by the government to do this stuff. Like they have to get contracts and whatever. So yeah, the really cool part about it is it's all based on real science, behavioral science, psychology, the study of microexpressions. Yeah, it's super cool. I think they do a pretty good job of teaching you as the show goes on, like the science that's actually happening and like how are we reading people and like what do various expressions look like, and you know, what are certain tells that when people are lying, like common, you know, things people do, how to read body language, like how to identify speech patterns, like when people are lying, like all this stuff that's like so crazy cool to me. I feel like I've always had a fascination with not just people lying, but just like how people communicate, I guess, and how people choose not to communicate or try.
You're a communications person. So.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I don't know. And like, you know, also like the psychology behind that. And like, yeah, I just think it's really, really interesting. And I've always loved the idea of being someone who's really good at figuring out other people, which is like what all of these characters do in and of itself. That got me immediately. I was like, you can read people, cool, sign me up. Like, tell me more, share your ways.
Right, because it's not even just like a magical, I can take one look at you and I know everything about you.
Right.
There's like a rationale behind it.
Right. It's like we've studied this for 20 years and we know how to do this because we've practiced it.
Right.
Which is like, then it's a skill you can learn. And then I'm like, I want to know the skill.
The Sherlock Holmes effect.
A little bit. Yeah. So we will be watching season 2, episode 4, another season 2, episode 4. What?
Wow.
Oh,
okay,
wow.
We got a kink for episode 4.
Apparently. Let's see how long we can keep it going. But yeah, we'll be watching season 2, episode 4, which is called Honey. And you're going to laugh at me when you realize what kind of episode it is. But it's going to be fun. Yeah, so other than that, I would say pay attention to the science as they're kind of teaching you stuff.
All right.
Character dynamics and kind of how the show teaches you what's happening with the characters through teaching you about the science. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does.
So it's like they're teaching you the science of how to read people and like understand lies and like psychology and motivations and all that stuff. And then you as the viewer are able to dissect what's going. Yeah, like literally apply it in real time.
Right. Yeah.
Which to me is like so cool. It's so great. So that's what I would say pay attention to. Yeah, we're going to have a great time. Any questions?
No, I'm excited to finally watch an episode of this.
Yeah. And yeah, we'll get into the full episode next week. Watch along with us. If you haven't seen the show, it's a fun time. You're not going to be lost about what's going on. It's pretty straightforward, but just some really cool fucking psychology science stuff, man. Yeah.
Right on.
We'll get into it. All right.
Well, if you're still here, thanks for staying around.
Yeah, this is broken up into 2 episodes, but we feel like it's been forever.
I mean, it's been over 3 hours.
Yeah, we've been going for a minute. I feel like we haven't recorded this long since our first initial episodes.
Yep, for sure. Which is why this is 2.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Well, thank y'all.
Yep.
For listening and hanging out, and we hope you hang out with us next week.
Absolutely. Leave us a comment, write us an email, hang out with us on Tumblr. Wherever you want to find us, we'll be around. And yeah, we'll see you next time.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening to this episode of The Show Off. If you enjoyed this one, go ahead and leave us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcast and give us your review of our episode pick for this week's pod. You can also email us at theshowoffpod@gmail.com. See you all next week.